Everyone. My name is Denise Santomauro. I am here with the wonderful Jenn Bailey. We are both editors with Angelella Editorial, but today we're here because Jenn Bailey recently released her debut picture book. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Jenn and a little bit about the picture book, and then we're going to ask her some questions. So Jenn Bailey has her MFA in writing for children and young adults from Vermont College of Fine Arts, where we both met, actually. Her work has received the Candlewick Picture Book Scholarship and the Beyond Words Award, among others. Jenn is a frequent guest lecturer and workshop leader for SCBWI, Heartland Writers for Kids and Teens, and the One-Year Adventure Novel Workshops. And she is represented by Rosemary Stimola. Did I say that correctly?
Yeah.
Okay. And then she has a brand new picture book. This is it right here. A Friend for Henry. It's so beautiful, illustrated by Mika Song. And this is a book in Classroom 6, second left down the hall. Henry has been on the lookout for a friend who shares, a friend who listens, maybe even a friend who likes things to stay the same and all in order as Henry does. But on a day full of too close and too loud, when nothing seems to go right, will Henry ever find a friend? Or will a friend find him? With insight and warmth, this heartfelt story from the perspective of a boy on the autism spectrum celebrates the everyday magic of friendship. And it got rave reviews across the board. School Library Journal, Publishers Weekly, Kirkus, Book List said, as diagnosed children on the autism spectrum increase, so does the need for informative, positive presentations such as this. So first of all, congratulations, Jenn Bailey.
Oh, thank you so much. Wow, that's like so encapsulating.
It's interesting because I think that, I'm sure getting into this process, you are, you're really in it now, and you're going through the book releases. It can be hard to probably go back to like these wonderful things that people have said about the book and this amazing, reception that you've gotten for it. And I know you've already done some interviews about the book. First of all, is there anything else you wanted to add to this description of the book or of your bio?
No.
Fair enough. Okay.
Just maybe that's why I'm a little tired. I don't know. It's a lot of things.
It's a lot of things. Yes, it is. And, you are a full-time mom too. I mean, you have 3 children, correct? 3 boys?
3 sons, yes.
Yes, 3 sons. And I know you've shared in interviews that your one son, Harris, correct?
Harris. Mm-hmm.
Yes, that he was inspiration for this book, and especially his neurodiversity. And I'm curious, though, why you chose specifically to focus on friendship in this book as opposed to maybe some of the other elements of navigating the world as someone who's neurodiverse.
Yeah, it was, we all need our tribes, I think is the point, right? We all need those groups that we can connect with. And for a kid who's neurodiverse, it's frequently very difficult. They're trying hard to navigate the world. And what people don't realize is that they really are trying. They write it off as, not interested. I mean, I remember when Harris was first diagnosed, and that was about when he was in 3rd grade, and we were looking at what that was going to mean for him, for the family, for all of that. And they were saying, well, won't make eye contact, has no sense of humor. Well, I'm sorry, my son Harris is one of the funniest people I've ever met. He's just brilliantly funny when you know him. And it changed my perspective. I would see, well, how does he interact with strangers or with new people? And that's when I could see some of that shutting down, that he was trying so hard to figure out a way to connect, that it stalled him. And there's nothing sadder, I think, for a mom than seeing your kid on the side, seeing all the kids playing on the playground or taking part in a party or being invited to a party and not your son. And that people don't think it hurts them or they don't think it matters because, well, they don't seem to be that interested anyway. And it's a bit like, but they are. And I thought if I could share what he was going through, maybe people would give him a bit more time, give him a bit, try to understand it a bit more, that it's just taking him longer to find out how to say hello, even how to find what you might have in common as he runs through it all in his brain. My family, we have this interesting little toast that makes us sound pretentious in my family. It's a quote from Aristotle. I know, but it's and it's to live alone, one must be either a beast or a god. So here's to friendship. So friendship has always been, that seriously is like the toast that we say when we have company over. And so it's very, it's tough when you're watching a child try so hard to make just one friend and can't quite manage it, and to see that that his peers aren't giving him that time.
Well, and I think you bring up a great point about the lack of understanding of it. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's one of the things I saw when I read through Henry for the first time was that it wasn't for lack of want, for this character. And from my understanding for your son as well, it was just a neurodiverse way of interacting in the world, that there's a different way of processing that maybe doesn't match up, and that it takes a little bit of sort of mental gymnastics to figure that out. And I think that I will say I appreciated this book so much from that angle, but also just in the universal idea of a child wanting a friend. It's such a basic part of childhood, and I think a basic part of humanness as well, of just we want companionship in all forms, including friendships where we find common ground. And how for me, that's what makes this book so wonderful, is that yes, it is specifically written with that in mind, that neurodiverse element in mind, but it's so universal as well. And I think that is part of what makes it so brilliant.
Oh, thank you. I did hope that it can speak to any child who might be more introverted or who might be quiet or shy. I mean, how many times, the extrovert,
Same here. This is where we bond.
Well, and the school is built for us. The world is built for us because we have no problem stepping forward going, yeah, I'll do that, or I'll do, and so and there's a whole other contingent of people who are thinking, yeah, boy, I'd like to do that too, but I just can't step forward. And so, yeah, having Harris in my life, and my other two sons too. My oldest is a bit more introverted. My youngest is absolutely an extrovert. But watching them, I mean, a lot of times, my youngest son, Kellen, was the conduit for Harris in their early childhood. He would literally bring his friends over to his brother. It's like, hi, this is my brother Harris. He may seem weird, but he's really cool. I know. So a lot of Harris's early friends were his brother's friends.
That is really sweet. Well, and I'm sure to get to that point, right, where it's not, because I believe I've read in one of the interviews you gave that this character, you couldn't write it when Harris was young because you would have written it from the mother's perspective, and so you had to write it from the child's perspective. And I know that like a good editor can help you get to that place. Right? A good editor can help you sort of pull, you're saying you're being the mom right now, you're being the adult. Let's pull back and look at this from a different angle. So I'm curious, as also being an editor, if that process was challenging for you, or what was challenging about the editorial process for you. And then did that change the way that you work with your clients that you bring on to edit?
That's I really love that question because it's like I spent a lot of time with this book, getting it to a place, and it's kind of what drove me to our MFA program at Vermont College of Fine Arts. I was like, I need to know how to tell this story. I am ready to tell it. I need to know how to tell it. I need to take Mama Bear and put her on the shelf and let poor Henry suffer.
It's like, it is the tenet. You have to do it. You have to make him suffer.
You got to make his life miserable. So that was very helpful. But it was when I started working with an editor on it. sometimes I got so upset with myself at times, like, why didn't I catch that? I'm an editor. I should have caught that. Yeah. And yet we're so close to our own work. So it just solidified that even as an editor, you need an editor. I mean, even as a published author or what, you need an editor. Editors are there for that second view and to help, as you said, to help really get the story out, to make sure that the right character is coming forward. So that was interesting, where I had to stop berating myself for, oh, how come I didn't know there was an issue of flow here? How come I used that word when that word doesn't sound good next to this word? It's like I had to just relax and, quite honestly, let my editor help me. Yeah. Which was brilliant because the ending of this book took time. It took a number of iterations. I was trying to get to that end that wasn't too sappy, that stayed in Henry's character, in his agency, and that resolved itself in a way that would work. And that took us a while. And this is where, and my editor is Daria Harper over at Chronicle. And I got to tell you, she was patient. She was gentle, and yet she kept pushing. I would get these notes, we're almost there. Think about it again. I like this part of it. We're almost there. I mean, and in a picture book, every word literally counts. So every word is considered. And we were down to that, where it was like, well, are we going to use weight, or are we going to use stand, or are we going to use, it was great, but she just kept kindly pushing. And I think that that's something that now I've adapted. It's, you're tempted sometimes to cut the author a little slack, to say, okay, well they've worked hard, they can go. No, if we as editors think that there's still a little bit more that author can give them another little push. Yeah. Just say, yep, and encouragement. No, you've got this, you know what you're doing, just we need a little more. It's not quite right. And I think that that's what we're getting hired for by our authors. And that's, that was just a great experience to have with an editor.
Yeah, I think you bring up something really, really poignant there. I mean, and I think this is true of all art, I would say, having sort of jumped into different artistic realms before, you get so close to your work and sort of the web that exists behind it to make it make sense, right? But nobody's going to be in your head as they're reading your book. They're not going to be able to see that web unless you put it on the page. And so being able to have somebody who is outside of it, who can look at it objectively, I think is so important when you're creating something that you want to go out into the world. And that's to say, like, sometimes we write things to share with our, families, or we write things to share with a small group of people. But when you're thinking about sort of, I want to get this out into the world, having that objective person can be really useful. I agree with you 100%. And I think that what you're saying about compassion is really, really important, that we that we give that to authors, and then as writers ourselves, we give that back to ourselves, and allow ourselves the compassion of, it's okay if we missed that one word or missed that piece of flow. And that sort of leads me to my last question. I'm really curious of, I automatically go to, my brain thinks about, from a debut author perspective, understanding the emotional components of it, but maybe it's something else for you. Because a lot of debut authors are asked, what is your advice? What is your advice? Which to me is like, that's massive. I don't know. Write the book. I don't know. Right. But like, instead of advice, I'm curious what you wish you knew, like before starting this process, or what you found to be really surprising about the process of releasing your first book.
Oh, and it shouldn't be surprising because I know how supportive the writing community is, but the support was truly incredible. I'm one of the, I was like, I don't want to bother people by telling them the book is out. I don't want to.
Self-promote, Jen, self-promote.
I don't want to be that person that's just like, hey, and by the way, I've only been talking about it for 2 years, but did you know?
Okay, but I'm going to go back, and now her name is leaving my brain, but there was a meeting with the in Congress recently, and she literally pulled out, she was like, so I'm going to read to you from the textbook I wrote, and like totally like slam down on this person who was supposed to be protecting like consumer financial reports or something along those lines. And it was just this wonderful moment of reminding ourselves of like, yeah, you know what? I did the work. So
I did the work. So that was what was astounding to, I mean, as I said, it shouldn't have been, but that just the wonderful support of the writing community. And then old friends, this is kind of fun. Just the other day, I got called by our local independent Rainy Day Books, who is a fantastic store. And they were like, hey, you got to come in. You got to sign some more books. I was like, great. That's what you always want to hear. And they said, because you've got somebody has ordered some, but they want them personalized. Well, it was a friend that I had in elementary school from like second grade on. And she lives in Texas now. I'm in Kansas. We both grew up in Rhode Island, but she saw on the internet that this had happened and had contacted Rainy Day because she wanted to make sure that I could get over there and sign them. And it was like that kind of stuff has been incredible. And you have to go ahead, you have to absorb that and say, thank you. Just like, because a friend says thank you. Just as Henry tells us. And so that's been surprising, is the wonderful friends like all throughout my life who have kind of made a point to reach out to. I think that I said, for some reason it started to happen on Facebook especially. These friends were holding up the book and showing that they had purchased it. And I said, I felt like I was stalking everybody, that there I was in all these wonderful pictures. So that was just delightful to see. What I wish I'd known was, so go ahead, as you just said, go ahead and push it. Like, contact the independent bookstore when you're going to be in town. Go over there. Yeah. Introduce yourself. I'm planning on going back to New England. My mom's still a teacher. She's a kindergarten teacher. And so her school wants me to come in, so I will. But I'm now contacting bookstores out there and some other schools like my elementary school because they're like, yeah, we want you to come on in, and that it's okay to do that. Go ahead and do that, but do it early. Do it like a couple of months ahead, because these stores and places, they have to plan. So let them know that you're going to be in the area and get your face in their face.
Yes, exactly. Self-promote. Which, speaking of, how, if somebody wanted to book you for like an author visit or anything like that, how would they go about doing that?
Well, if they went to my website, Jenn Bailey, JennBailey.com, there's a contact me, and they can send me an email. I would be happy to do that. I had a great time with Skyping with the Farmingdale Elementary in Illinois for World Read Aloud Day. Oh my gosh, what fun. And I got thank you letters, which are the cutest thing. all of these wonderful pictures and stuff. I tell you, it was just delightful. But how much fun we had. I read the story to them and showed them all of my pets. I live with many furry creatures, and it was a fun time. So we talked about writing and about what you need to do to come up with those great ideas. It was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. That's so great. So what, since you are a writer, this is a question you are probably always getting. What are you working on now, Jenn? Are you working on anything right now? I've told myself, since as you do, as you as an editor, I need to take myself on as a client right now. And make myself sit down and write the next book. So I have a bunch of projects. I have a picture book biography that's out on submission right now, actually.
which I'm excited about. It's a biography of Marcel Marceau, and so of course it's done without words. And so that's out on submission. And I have some other things that my wonderful agent, Rose Smola, gave me notes on, which I, as all writers do, I read them and I went, right, and I put them over there, and then stopped crying. Did not think heavily. And was like, okay, now I can look at those again, and broke them out. Now they're spot on, but gosh, sometimes it's hard to hear. So just, deepen this, change that. It's as you know, as both writer and editor, it's a never-ending process. We could play with our work always, but yeah, there's a lot of almosts that I need to get back to working on.
Go ahead.
I just think, I know, it's like, oh.
Well, I am crossing, and I think all of us over at Angelella Editorial are crossing all of our fingers and toes for you on your next project and on the success of this book, A Friend for Henry. Go get it today, by Jenn Bailey, illustrated by Mika Song. I'll show you a little inside pic so you can see just how gorgeous these illustrations are. It's so well done. Seriously, you should go get it. And both myself and Jenn are available for editorial work as well through Angela Editorial. So feel free to hop on over there and learn a little bit more about us. And if you're interested in working with an editor, we are both available, and you can find out what we both specialize in. Jenn Bailey, thank you so much for talking with me today.
Thank you, Denise. I'm so grateful. This has been really delightful. And wow, tough questions, but I hope I got it out there.
Oh my gosh, you totally did. You were amazing. And thank you for writing such a wonderful book.
Oh, thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.